Now, this guy that I'm going to introduce you to right now, you think when he's talking to you that he's talking about interest rates and lending terms and all that kind of stuff. Really, he's really talking about the state of the universe, international relations, cosmic consciousness. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome my new friend, Mr. Russ Wilcox from Midwest Bank, everybody, right here. Russ Wilcox.
But that's how it goes.
Good to see you. Great to see you, Russ. I didn't know where I was going. But that Ozzy Osbourne thing was profound, man.
I've never listened to the words. That's really good. I always listen to it so loud that I can't
That's right.
know what he's saying. So
he is a classic rocker, no doubt about it. Well, tell me, you're a well-known lender and borrower and banker, obviously, here in this community. But, innovation is the theme. Do you agree with us that innovation is an important consideration for all the companies and organizations here in the region? Tell me a little bit about your gut reaction to innovation in this area.
Well, I think for us it's a huge deal because we deal in a region that is challenged with location, workforce, all those kind of things, and I think it's important for us to always be looking to think outside of the box and find new and innovative ways to do things because we don't have the interstate, we don't have the port, we don't have the major airport right here, so we have to work a little bit harder for what we get.
Absolutely, and maybe this will be the beginning of some of that. Tell us a little bit about innovation in the banking industry. I mean, it's a pretty it's going through some incredible I don't want to say revolutionary, but there's some very interesting enhancements with apps, and online banking, and some interesting services that are emerging. Tell us as you look at the industry in broad strokes, what are the most innovative things that you see in the financial services industry today?
Well, you hit on a couple of them. I think, we've seen a lot of innovation in the way in which we deliver services, product delivery.
Right.
Very much on the consumer side, that's where a lot of it's been, and that's been driven by the consumer's desire for convenience.
Yeah.
You talk about consumer remote deposit capture, where you can take a picture of your check and deposit in the bank, or, we see that on the commercial side where people can deposit checks, large quantities of checks. I think there's some other things that are a little bit innovative, with virtual currencies. We're not seeing much of that around here, but I think that's going to be a very, very innovative kind of a thing that we're dealing with.
Are you talking about Bitcoin? Is that
Bitcoin would be an example of a virtual currency that's...
So that's not a fad. You think that's going to be around and it's going to penetrate and mature?
I don't know that I'm smart enough or at the pay level that I can tell you if that's a fad or not, but I know that...
Somehow I don't think that's a problem.
I know that 20 years ago, if you'd have told me that we could take a picture of a check and deposit in a bank, I would have told you were crazy.
Yeah.
So when somebody says things like virtual currencies and Bitcoin, it does make me at minimum say, that could be a big deal.
Absolutely. As you think about innovation in your organization here in Norfolk, how do you come at it? Do you say, well, we need to think about the process as a whole, or we need to find a few talented people that can that are comfortable with innovation, can kind of help us steer forward? Or do you sit back and have a strategic planning session and say, well, let's find some new product for 2015 that's kind of cutting edge? Where do you begin?
Well, bankers, as by nature being conservative, we probably follow some of the more traditional tracks of innovation, which a lot of times is driven out of strategic planning type processes, some brainwashing. I almost said brainstorming. Probably some brainwashing goes along with that too. You have to talk to Pat Hughes about that.
Well, let me interrupt you and say this. A guy who knows more about your industry than I do, he said that banks are known for the fast follower strategy. In other words, they try to hesitate. They try not to move ahead too fast on any one thing until somebody else does.
Right.
And then if it works, then we all try to follow. Is that true?
Well, I think it's absolutely true because history has shown, specifically in the financial services industry, that innovation at some level has kind of been punished. I mean, if you're an innovator,
risk there. There's risk.
Yeah, we're supposed to be managing risk. We're supposed to be conservative in the way we do things. So for those folks that have thought outside of the box, at times they've kind of been beat down a little bit and almost kind of put in their place. So it's kind of a hard industry to be truly innovative in.
Yeah.
But there's some people that are doing it.
Russ, I know you play a large role at the Chamber, and you're very much community-oriented, as well as, of course, the professional role that we're talking about right here. As we kind of wrap things up, what's your take on the community as a whole and its approach towards innovation? What are some things we can do or are thinking about that would be innovative for the city of Norfolk and the region in general? I think you have the scope. You might as well share with us what's
Sure.
going through your brain.
You know, I think the big thing that I see, not only with the chamber, but being a small business lender, is sometimes I think we overthink innovation. I think we get wrapped up in this concept that we have to come up with this completely new, innovative idea that no one else has done before.
That's a good point.
I look around the room here, and I got a ton of friends sitting out here. There is a lot of very knowledgeable people that are sitting right out here. That if we would just share ideas, I look at other industries and say, if we could take some of what you do in that industry,
open it up,
and implement it in the banking industry, we could be very successful. And I don't know that we have to always recreate the wheel. I think we can just maybe copy the wheel from somebody else and see some success there.
But to take advantage of that, you do have to broaden your vision sufficiently so that you can actually examine some other industries and some other business models and import them selectively, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's exactly what you're trying to say.
Absolutely. You said it so well.
All right. Russ
You read
Wilcox,
my mind.
ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. We appreciate it. Mr. Russ
Thanks,
Wilcox, everybody.
All right.
Yes, indeed. Nuggets of gold. Nuggets of gold. Yeah, see, we're here to be substantive. We're here to share actual knowledge that's actionable, stuff you can use in your business tomorrow, or at the very least to prompt a thoughtful conversation with your cohorts in the very near term. That's what this is all about. We're not just up here chatting. We want to go somewhere with this knowledge and create traction. But all right, my second guest tonight. If you want to innovate, you find it important, one of the ways to get that done is to get out of the office. Go someplace where the environment's a little bit different. Maybe the environment's a little bit fluid, a little bit changeable, and maybe it's a little uncertain. And then all of a sudden, all the problems that you have at the office that you've got to solve innovatively don't appear, the least bit familiar. Then the right hemisphere of your brain, bam, kicks in, and it all appears handleable, all right? Something you can do something about. This next gentleman has kids in soccer, I believe a daughter, but we'll get that clear. And he was asked to go out, kind of on the spur of the moment, and be the coach for a bunch of young kids that were a soccer team, right? And he had a bunch of leftover time. The time allotted for the soccer practice was way too long. And he didn't know what to do. He didn't have enough, he had way too much time. Nobody had told him what to do. And these kids were getting bored and antsy. So he had to come up on the spot with a drill, right, for these young soccer players and keep them focused and interested in the sport, and he did it. And I love the fact it's so innovative. That's the kind of exercise, if you want to be innovative in business, that will help you get to the next level. So let's welcome him from Faith Regional, one of the top health systems in the entire United States of America. He recruits all the physicians over there. Please welcome our new friend, Jake Clausen, everybody, right here.
Thank you for having me.
Hey, my pleasure.
see you.
I listened to your intro. Did I have it right as your daughter or your son?
It is my daughter. She is 6, and those of you who have
she's
younger
6.
kids know that it's a 45-minute practice that borders on 5 hours. So it's...
So what are you going to do, right?
Right. And
You have to make
the
up
attention
things.
span is about a minute tops, and so you've got to... you can do a lot in 45 minutes with 6-year-old girls.
Absolutely.
It's
And
a little
they're
scary.
When they're moving around, that's like variables in a business system or a business process. There's all these things, all these moving variables. Somehow you got to figure out a way to get them corralled.
Absolutely. That's well put. Exactly right. That's
Congratulations to you on that, Jake. Hey, listen, tell me, in broad terms, I mean, we could dive deep into this. You're in a turbulent, fascinating industry.
Yes, sir.
Healthcare is going through dramatic changes, and so you must be forced to be innovative. How do you think about the business right now? What role does innovation play in the strategic unfolding of healthcare today, and as far as your organization is concerned?
I think it's a great question. I think as much as anything, Lynn, we are forced to be innovative in that we can't get too caught up in one particular idea. The healthcare targets are changing almost by the week, depending on what Congress is deciding this week or next
Now, when you
week.
say targets, you mean like carriers versus consumers and patients?
All of those things.
Okay,
How
yeah.
healthcare is going to be delivered by different physicians, how it's going to be paid for, where it's going to be delivered. Is it going to be in the home? Is it going to be in the facility? All of those things are constantly changing.
Yes.
So what's important for us, I think, is to not get so caught up in, well, we need to come up with this idea.
Yeah.
We need to come up with an idea that might work, but we also has to be flexible enough that it allows us to move at a moment's notice.
Let's dive deeper into this, because I think you're actually sitting in the petri dish of the entire economy of America right now, insofar as all these variables. And talk about managing the innovation process. For instance, do you believe then that you need to have Plan B, Plan C, and Plan D kind of in place then, based upon what happens? Is that what you're suggesting?
I think you do need to have contingency plans. I think you also need to not try and come up with so many things on your own. I think that there are people in this country, from a healthcare standpoint, that are doing excellent things, and I think you need to utilize some of those good things that have happened and try to make them your own, while again leaving that option to say, well, we may need to go a completely different way based on our geography, based on our provider list, based on our insurance, et cetera, et cetera.
You know, you mentioned geography. I'm going to veer off again, Jay, because I know
Please
you're
do.
so bright you can respond to almost anything that goes by you. In this region, how does this region stack up in the healthcare scenario? How does it change, if at all, what you're thinking about? You say, well, we should be thinking about this, but this is Norfolk, so we need to be thinking a little bit about that. Do you do that?
Absolutely. It's really something we look at as from a healthcare delivery standpoint of we have a lot of really good pressure put on us by all of this entire northeast Nebraska and north central Nebraska. If someone, as an example, who lives in Valentine has to already drive 90 or 100 miles to receive health care here,
right,
the last thing they want to hear, Lynn, is that, well, we'd really like you to go 2 hours down the road to somewhere else because we can't provide that.
To a specialty here.
Correct. So
yeah.
I think it's a pressure that we thrive on and really enjoy, but I think it makes us really consider what would a larger center do, because in essence we are providing that care on a regional basis and we want everybody to stay here locally.
So now I have a big question to ask. Is it all about strategically building capacity and more departments, more divisions, more specialists, more stuff that we can serve the region with? Or is it about, on the other hand, generating revenue and being more competitive and conveying our unique value proposition and getting patients in the door? Which one of those two things is the most important, the areas of innovation?
The answer to that question is the one I'd really like to know.
Okay. All right.
Honestly,
well, that's an honest answer.
To be honest, I don't think we know. I think what we want to do is center the patient first.
Of course.
If that takes us this way, great. If
Yeah.
that takes us this way, we'll adapt. So as long as I think that patient-centered focus is there, I think it has to be both. Nonprofit organizations specifically, I think are looked at as, well, they can do a lot with a little. And I always like to counter that argument with a sort of really a very simple thing, which is no money, no mission. And so it does have to be profitable, and it does have to, but again, it has to stay patient-centered. So I hate to give you a vague answer or a fence post answer, but I think we're really trying to figure that out.
Well, we're in a transition period.
A bit.
And a transition period can be a fertile time to consider innovation. In fact, you pretty much have to do that.
You have to.
Although there are people, not like you, but there are people that say, wait a minute, this is all shifting so fast, let's do nothing, right? Let's just hold on to what we have, cling to our status quo, whatever that is. And then when it all settles out, then we'll go do something. What's the matter with that as we wrap up, Jake? What's the matter with that strategy instead of being proactive and just pushing forward and saying, hey, we'll do the best we can under the transient circumstances?
Right. I think the problem, if I can call it a problem, with maybe sort of staying still or waiting to see how the dust is going to settle, is that people are going to pass you by. There are far too many people who are going to want to take advantage of your stagnation. And I think that I don't think you want to be irresponsible and just sort of, well, let's just try anything and everything and it doesn't matter the cost or the consequences. However, if you can pull in and rein in some of that creativity and some of that innovation while also being responsible in moving forward,
yes,
you have a much better chance of success. And I think you also have to set yourself up for, you might guess wrong, quite frankly.
I appreciate that. And we're going to have an exercise right now, a little mixing exercise, and I picked up two words out of this dialogue: creativity and competitive awareness. The degree to which your competition may take advantage of your mismove or just doing nothing. Mm-hmm. So I think those two words will be the words that we'll be talking about shortly. Thank you so very much,
Thank you
Jake.
for having me.
My pleasure to have you. Faith Regional, there he is. Jake, how about it, ladies and gentlemen? Now listen, there's a lot of implementers in the world, a lot of people who focus on tactics and efficiency and benchmarks and projects and get it done a little cheaper, get it done a little faster. That's the nature of business. It's okay. That's how it goes. But you know, there need to be people in the world with big ideas, right? Concepts. I call it conceptual leadership. People that find associations and themes and concepts and ideas and help other people generate revenue for their businesses. That's the number one problem in the world. We never get enough revenue, do we? So we want people around us that have big ideas that help us generate revenue. Especially people that have 40 years of experience doing exactly that. So with that, I want you to please welcome my next guest. He's a big idea guy. He's been around, he's proven, he's experienced, he's larger than life. Please welcome Mr. Brad Love, everybody. Great to see you. Great to see you. You bet, man. You know, when I come to town, I love to see your boards everywhere. Everywhere. I love those 14 by 48s. Huh?
10 by 30s.
10 by 30s. But that's one of the qualities of big idea people. They see things in expansive terms. That's okay. It's no big deal. But I love that. And I know that you are generating a lot of the, it's not just ideas, it's the courage that comes out of the ideas, right? Huh?
Yeah.
All right. Tell me about innovation in your business. All right. I know technology is a big piece of it and so on. Talk to me a little bit about innovation, how you're staying abreast of things.
Well, basically, when I first started in this industry, we did everything by hand. We actually, painted signs with paintbrushes, and I guess I've been lucky enough to see that transition over these years. I mean, I guess the thing is after 38 years, it just, and it's moving faster now than it ever has.
Oh, so it's not like it's over.
Oh, absolutely not.
We've seen the advent of giant outprint, beautiful colors, and big, massive printers. And if you're in the outdoor business, how much further can you go? Talk to me about. I know there's an answer to that.
Oh, the thing is, basically, we do have outdoor advertising, which now is going digital. We can actually, take and create the content in our office.
Yes.
And just change it instantly. And as far as the other side of the business, dynamic digital is coming along, where basically flat screen televisions will replace interior signs.
All right, now let's stop there for just a second, because I've seen a little of this around the country, not a lot. I would think the capital expense, right, to purchase this technology and put it up would be almost prohibitive, Brad. Is that a challenge financially for you?
Well, actually, the cost is coming down all the time.
Okay, well, that makes sense.
Yeah,
I guess.
and like I say, the technology, becomes more prevalent, is getting less expensive.
But let's talk about capacity. Let's say we've got a big board on 13th Street, just down from Johnny Carson's picture, all right? Mm-hmm. And you're telling me with this digital technology that you can have more advertisers on that space than ever before, right?
Correct.
All right. Which means you get to charge more for all those messages, right?
Right.
Okay. So they're like a money machine in a way.
It can be lucrative, let's put it that way.
It can be lucrative. But let's talk about the value proposition for the customer. They're saying, wow, dazzling digital effects and color and movement and so on. So, you're giving them as much as you're getting, right? Because you're getting a much more engaging medium. Is that correct?
And it's the only medium that they can control 100%. They don't have to go outside of their office to contract that work. They can actually create the content in their office, and they're 100% in control.
Really?
Yeah, you bet.
So they're in charge of their own messaging on your board?
Well, no. You're thinking of our digital billboards, but we do also sell on-premise electronic signage. So, yes, there's a difference.
And you've expanded your product line to include, just briefly, some other things, right? You've visual displays and some other cool stuff. Tell me briefly about that.
Basically, the thing about being in a small town is we're very diversified. We do, interior decor for businesses.
Sure.
We do, you name it, we do it. I guess that's kind of
anytime there's a visual that's larger than average.
That's
right?
us.
That's going to be you. Yep. Now, let's get personal here for a second. Do you sit around thinking of ideas, and advertiser says, I really need to generate more business, and I know you increase awareness. You say, I'll be back tomorrow with a couple ideas. Do you do that still?
Yes.
You do?
And I'm really excited about it, too. If somebody's sign isn't more than what it can be, I'm disappointed. I'm more disappointed than they are.
Now,
Because-
does your wife say, nah, that's a crappy idea, Brad?
Yes, she does.
It's kind of like that left brain, right brain thing.
Yeah,
right?
I think so.
It's
But we
okay.
compliment each other, so
Well, keep going on with that.
you bet.
You know, tell me a little bit about your culture. You know, I know that you have, you know, the urge, new ideas and stuff like that. But what do you surround yourself with? Real structured, efficient, rigid, disciplined people, or do you like to have an environment, an office culture that's kind of go with the flow? And if you got a good idea over there, make sure you rush in and tell me, or what?
Actually, we have a very open environment in our operation, and it takes so many different types of people to carry out this work. I mean, so many different skills.
Yeah.
Welders, electricians, installers,
Right.
designers, salespeople.
So you're putting some very different kinds of mental processes together, right? Different
Absolutely.
kinds of thinkers.
Yep. It's
Yeah.
quite a process. It really is. It's much more complex than you think it is. It truly is.
Yeah. What's the next big innovation for you as we wrap this thing up, Brad Love? You know, I'm so respectful of your family's ability to sustain and perpetuate your brand and keep evolving. And I mean, that is so awesome. What's the next? Is it just incremental innovations? The next little digital thing is cool and this and that, or is there some giant paradigm shift where you're gonna bore into the consumer's head as they drive by, or what's going on?
Well, I tell you, it's changing so fast. I mean, it's just hard to, keep your eye on the target. I mean, it's just, but you've got to constantly, every day you go into the office, think of new ways to innovate our business,
Right.
just to keep up. I think, in days past, you could take your time and, contemplate the future a little bit more than you can today.
Yeah.
Because it's changing weekly, monthly, daily.
Do you find that stimulating or overwhelming and just want to shut it off?
Depends on what day of the week it is.
All right.
Usually Mondays is tougher than Fridays, so.
I'm going to ask you one quick question here, and I think I'm going to ask the entire audience to focus on this as we do our next mixer exercise. But let's say, for instance, you're sitting around, you go to a trade show or something like that, right? You're talking to your peers around the industry. Right?
Sure.
And you ask them, you lean across the table, and you say, what percentage of your time or total resources, time and money, people, do you put into innovation? All right? Thinking of new things and coping with new things and implementing new things. All right? That's this multi-stage deal, right?
Sure.
Could be 5%, could be 80%, I don't know. Let me ask you, let me put you right on the spot. In your organization, which is pretty established, what percentage of your total resource base do you consciously move into innovation and say, well, let's get over there and be thinking and working on this thing and figuring out what we're going to do with this next new deal? What percentage of your total resources do you spend on that?
Wow, I'd say probably 30 to 40%.
Ah,
Honestly, quite a high number.
that's a sizable number.
It is. It truly is.
So that means you're constantly working. You must have a couple initiatives that are kind of newish going on and unfolding all the time.
All the time.
How do you deal with failure? 30 seconds.
Hate it.
Hate failure? Gee, I'm so surprised. Well, because every time you come up with a cool idea, you're envisioning the best possible outcome, aren't you?
You're only as good as your last sign.
All right. Well, Brad Love, thank you so much. I have great respect for what you do, my friend. We'll see you soon.
Thank you, Lynn.
Brad Love. Love signs. Boom. All right, here we go. Let's go. Here's the question. Very interesting. What percentage of your total resource base, time, money, and people, do you consciously invest in innovative ideas and projects and people? New ideas. All right? Check it out. 5 minutes. We'll be right back. Ask people what that number is. It was 30% for Brad Love. What's your number?
Norfolk, your people made the difference. Norfolk, you said your heart inside. Norfolk, your people made the difference. Norfolk, it's a journey, not a ride.
Anyway, I think all of you know right now where I'm talking about 50% of the team that runs Magnolia's, not very far from here, about a mile away from here. She's got a lot to share, ladies and gentlemen. Amy Renter, please bring her on.
Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like a room without a roof.
Great. Hi. Great to see you. Gosh, you got a beautiful store.
for the compliment.
It's so beautiful, and you've got a great team of people. Your daughters are here too?
My daughters are here too.
Shall we recognize them and ask them to stand up? The Renter family, the daughters, are they
They
here?
won't love it, but they're in the corner.
Hello, there they are.
It's Leah and Katie.
You know, Norfolk is a place where it's family business, all right? I mean, you know, just about everybody, it's about family, and we don't want to marginalize that idea or trivialize that idea. When the girls are here and mom's here, we got to step up and recognize them. You know, Amy, you've been not only become quite a professional, an industry luminary, but you also participated in the chamber, and you know you've got a community scope, right? Tell me a little bit about your background here. Let's learn a little bit about what you do here in the Norfolk area, right?
So not from birth, just current. Okay.
Yeah, right now. Yeah.
We've had our business 20 years this year.
20 years.
Our transition took us from our beginning in Plainview, Nebraska, nearby,
Yes.
to 2 stores, one in Norfolk and one in Plainview, and 2 stores was too much, so we have 1 store now, which
And a beautiful big store.
It is.
How many square feet is the store?
It's about 4,000 square feet.
Okay. Let me interrupt you for a second. Do we have enough volume on Amy back there?
Talk louder.
Everybody here okay? Okay, I want to make absolutely sure. You have kind of a...
All right, I will speak up.
There you go.
Not a
Coming
problem.
forward.
There we go.
Absolutely. You know, we've talked a little bit about innovation. I watched or learned about this cool video thing that you did, a cool little video promotion where you produced
Oh, yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that, because I'm going somewhere with this, but just explain.
We do little short ones on Facebook, or we did the DVD?
The DVD.
The DVD,
Yeah.
okay. So many of you may know we sell holiday, quite a great deal of holiday at Magnolia's, and it became, over the course of time, a big thing for me to go to the showroom and see these fabulous displays that I was purchasing from. These were the displays in my vendor showrooms.
Sure.
And then I'd come back to the store and I'd explain to my customers one-on-one, as I'm showing them the merchandise, how it got done. Well, in the end, you start realizing I need to reach more people, not one at a time. So I began doing workshops, and the workshops turned into, well, I couldn't make it. Can you do one for me later? No, I'm
Sure,
busy.
sure.
So I made a DVD. Now I can say, how about just buying this DVD? And then here's the workshop on a DVD in your home.
Now this may seem kind of basic to you, but there's a huge strategy behind this, and every business in America is dealing with this. In fact, we have a social media expert in the room, and she knows where I'm going here, all right? The notion of content, basically educating your customer, right? Giving your customer all kinds of information that would be helpful and is maybe slightly broader than the specific product category you're trying to sell. All right, I know you sell Christmas furnishings and so on and so forth, but the notion of decorating your home is something a lot of people can do, or decorating a tree or whatever. Not everybody can do that equally well, right? So the education that you're providing them with the DVD, you're basically productizing your own wisdom and the knowledge that you have.
Right. Because most people they see the finished product and they love the look, but they don't know how to achieve it. And it's not just a thing like building a flower arrangement or designing a Christmas tree. It's putting your home together.
Right.
But our home is a reflection of ourselves. So when they can't create a home that doesn't feel like their personality coming through, they get very frustrated and really unsettled. And so we help them overcome that.
Yeah, you actually calm a disruptive psyche is what you really do.
It's true. And we mend marriages.
You probably do with the environment and so on. But I just want to emphasize this. You know, there are many people that are writing blogs all the time. They're writing essays. They're putting up videos, kind of like these videos on their website. I mean, education, so that people watch it and they go, oh, now I know how to decorate my home or decorate
Because
my
now we
Christmas
have
tree.
the technology to do that.
Right. So that's an innovative thing. But it's also innovative in the fact that you're teaching them. It doesn't cost you anything to let them watch the DVD, right?
There you go.
And yet it's a very easy way to have people come in and say, wow, I was really impressed with the DVD and, you know, really impressed with the video, and I'd like to buy some products.
If it worked for them, the warm fuzzies that they feel from the accomplishment of creating something on their own with a little instruction, it turns them into Magnolias.
They're brand loyal.
Yeah.
They're brand
They'll
loyal.
spread the word to their friends, and
Right.
they'll invite their friends over to.
See, and that's not a logical thing. You just said warm fuzzies, right?
Yeah.
Right. So that's what branding is all about.
That's
as
my
you know.
high-tech catchword.
No, I love that word. And there are many businesses that don't know how. I've actually seen a CEO shut the door and ask me, how do I cultivate warm emotions about my brand? I just don't think like that. I don't sell like that. And you just shared right now, I don't know if you realize it's an incredible insight that a lot of people could use tomorrow. All right, thank you. Hey, let's talk about interior decorating trends.
That's
Should we
a
do
big
that?
one.
Should we talk about
Sure.
the topic we were discussing before?
I love the topic we were discussing. That was really good.
Well, interior design, let's go broad, right? America is eclectic, right? Diverse, right? So if you go to a showroom for an interior design store, what do you see? You see a lot of eclectic, diverse influences.
You should see a wide variety if they're trying to cover all the bases, unless it's a niche.
But what's really interesting is that they opposite things like sophisticated urban, like, glass and smooth, beautiful, like, metal and things like that, are
like
right next to
rustic modern, yeah.
pottery and primitive surfaces on the floor, that kind of stuff, right?
It fascinates people. It's the juxtaposition of the
Right.
edgy stuff with
Edgy
the
stuff.
historical or something a little more warm and
Right, and so
calming.
we're pulling two opposite things together, right? I mean, that's really what's going on in interior design. And I noticed this, and I shared this with you, and I went to your showroom today and I saw it. I saw examples of it
Good.
everywhere.
Right here in Nebraska.
Right
Good.
here in Nebraska, here in Norfolk, I saw this beautiful, very modern lucite chair, very high-tech and smooth and sophisticated, something you'd see in Manhattan, frankly.
Right.
But it was sitting beautifully on this rug that was very rough and earthy and grounded.
So it's good contrast.
Right, big time contrast.
Caught your eye. It was interesting. It was unexpected.
Yeah, my eye was like, whoa, they look awesome together, and I would have never thought of putting them together. But you have a design eye, and I'm going to tell you the name of this trend we discussed that I think is capturing that. This is all over your
Very
store.
clever.
Yeah, it's called Urban Natural.
And I like it.
You like that?
It kind of encaptures exactly what you're saying. The combination that people don't want to put themselves in a niche. They want to incorporate a lot of different styles together.
And it's opposites, right? The urban is kind of sophisticated and slick and Manhattan, and then you have the natural, which is kind of grounded, and it's almost like a wholesome organic garden or something like that, right? You put them together, bam, there's an interior design.
Keeps your look realistic.
And I think it's at
achievable.
Magnolia's. I think the whole thing is sitting over there at Magnolia's right now, if you want to know the name.
You want to create my ad? 'Cause it's pretty much it right there.
I think we did something here. I just want to thank you so much for bringing some beauty into our life, for helping us look at the world of business through design eyes. Any other thing that you're going to say after going through this whole experience about innovation and so on? Are you going to do any more innovative things, or
Always.
you think that you've maxed out, or what?
No, we keep going. Every time a customer says, I wish I could find, I can't find, can you help me find? Then my wheels start turning. Okay, they can't find it, maybe I should find it.
Yeah, that's the beginning of the innovation process,
There
the
you go.
creative process. Thank you so much, Amy
for
Renter
inventing.
from Magnolia's, everybody, right here. She's got a great store, beautiful store. Thank you. My pleasure. Amy Renter. All right, now, here we go. Here's the theme. I'm going to step up here. Get ready. The urban natural theme that I briefly mentioned to her combines two opposites. I want you to focus on that for a second. Urban, smooth and slick, natural, kind of earthy and grounded. What opposites exist in your company, in your business? Whether it's technology opposite people, whether it's your environment, whether it's your product mix, whatever it is, this is tough. Think about opposites and how they work well together. Stand up and talk to each other for 5 minutes, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be right back. All right, now listen. Let's talk about innovation in your organization. You've grown it. You have 5 stores.
Yes.
You've grown the number of people. What's it like as you go through this incredible process, we'll say the last 10, 12, 15 years? How has managing this thing changed for you as a leader of this company?
Well, it's changed a lot. It's taken where my normal management style, which is a very friendship and very open and communication, trusting, and we've had to become a lot more systematic, just because there's so much happening that if you don't have some systems in place to track it, you lose things.
Do you worry a little bit about losing the heart and soul of the organization as you put all these disciplines and systems in, or not?
Oh yes, we really have to. We pride ourselves in that mom and pop.
Yeah.
In that feeling where we do business with a handshake, and we try to keep that all the time. But yet you have to have the systems on the background to be able to manage all the wheels that are spinning all at once when you have that much happen.
Yeah. You know, I know you have competitors that are watching you. They'd like to have a piece of your action, quote unquote, right? So they're unbundling. You know, some people said marketing is really just a matter of either bundling or unbundling products and services together into some kind of form. And you've got a nice solution. When you sell solutions, you've got all these different components, and they're all nicely choreographed so they work together. But you've got guys that are undercutting you and saying, you just need this and this. You don't need the whole deal. And you're losing business in that way? I don't know. How do you deal with this?
Well, we fight that all the time.
You do?
And it's very prevalent in both of our main product lines. But what we try to do is we try to sell the customer on, we can take care of everything from start to finish. Yeah, they might be able to do this piece a little cheaper.
Yeah.
They might be able to do this segment a little different.
Sure.
But we can do the whole thing where you only have to deal with us, and we're going to take care of you.
But Henry, do they value that as much as they used to? They're like, well, I don't really care about the fact that you can handle the entire thing. I just want a cheap part of a thing or a process.
You have to be more progressive and more putting yourself out there to sell them on it.
Yeah.
But in the agricultural field, they still are attracted to that.
Yeah. They're relationship oriented.
Yes.
But also they're spending six figures many times, so money does matter there, right?
Yeah, you have to make sure that they're comfortable with us as a company, and
Yes.
that we're going to take care of them.
Yeah.
And the fact that we've been around for nearly 80 years,
Yeah.
and things like that help to sell that complete package.
Yeah, that helps your brand integrity. Now, what about, what's the next step? I know that the agricultural industry may be kind of creating profit pressure for you. It could be a financial pressure. How do you, as an innovator and a leader of this company that's got momentum, what's your philosophy there? What do you do specifically?
Well, we always try to be real open to the innovations coming down the pike. We look ahead. We always try to picture, where do we want to be in 5 years? What kind of a company do we want to be in 5 years? And we're always researching and expanding on the innovations that are happening to try to keep us on the front end versus being the trailer.
Do you ever feel like you're behind the curve on some of the stuff that's coming through and changing the shape of your industry?
We try not to.
Yeah.
We try not to. It happens, but we always try to where we're on the cutting edge, or if not on the being maybe not the first innovators, but we're right there, right behind them.
Yeah. You know, you've grown so fast. What's the next step for you? Are you going to keep on adding branches as you edge over into Iowa and start to keep broadening your distribution footprint? Obviously, that means you're going to buy more inventory, and that your costs are going to go down some. Or do you just want to stay here and just manage your existing operation a little more efficiently? Or what's the strategy right now?
It depends on whether you ask my wife or not.
Okay, well, that's an honest answer.
Our strategy.
She would like to. Let me guess. She would like you to just kind of hang on to what you're doing and don't do anything crazy, right?
Just for a day or two.
Yeah.
We want to do what we do better, but we're always keeping our eyes open on something that makes sense for expansion.
Do you ever do acquisitions and merger and that kind of stuff, or do you like to just grow organically?
It's a combination of both. In our industry, there's a lot of dealerships with management and ownership that is aging. Mm-hmm. So
take advantage of that.
So we kind of have put ourselves in a position where, as some of these people get ready to step away, we might be the first ones that call.
Yeah, but that could be kind of also bring you down. You get a lot of baggage there, and a lot of obsolete equipment, a lot of obsolete thinking, and so on and so forth. I don't know if you can move and groove with the same velocity that you're used to doing.
Depending on the situation.
Yeah.
And the price, of course.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of these people that they just kind of fade away too.
Yeah.
And we get their business because we do a good job.
You know, you're kind of in the middle on the supply side. Would you rather, you ever thought about this crazy question? You ever thought about just farming? Forget about all this nonsense? Or would you ever like to be a manufacturer? I mean, you're right in the middle here as a kind of a dealer-distributor, value-added dealer-distributor. You ever thought about edging into those adjacent market spaces?
Well, I wasn't fortunate to inherit a big farm or something, so this is my way of farming.
Okay, you're cultivating customers,
cultivating the customers.
And building a legacy as well.
Yes.
All right, and by the way, before we let you go, I want to congratulate you on your commitment to physical fitness. The Center for Executive Leadership has done some research and determined that people like you that do exercise diligently and regularly, 15 to 20 miles that you run a week, right, actually make better decisions from a physiological point of view. So, what do you think about that? How about Henry Ashoff, ladies and gentlemen, right here?
Thank you very much, Mike.
Good to see you. $25 million company, 600% increase in sales in the last 13 years. Oh my goodness. Business, more and more, is gaining an appreciation for and an interest in happiness, fulfillment in your life, even the phrase self-actualization. Some of you have heard that from Abraham Maslow. Trying to find out who you are, right? Career tests and all this, all of us, all comes back to who are you and what do you really stand for, what do you really believe in, right? And rejection is a huge factor in business, as we know, and some of us just really struggle with some of the emotional sides, the emotional dimension of business and management and leadership in general. And the last time we had a Success Summit, only a couple months ago, we had a minister here, and he was one of the highlights of the entire thing. He talked about heart and soul and spirit and belief and faith. He wove all those topics into a mainstream discussion about business. It was pretty interesting. It's pretty interesting. People really enjoyed this guy. You're going to enjoy this guy equally. He's a young man. His name is Justin Weesey. He's associated with the Lutheran campus. I'm not saying that quite correctly, but we'll learn about that. But he's a pastor in the Lutheran faith and tradition here in the Norfolk area. But he's out there talking to the community. He's building alliances and relationships. And he, ladies and gentlemen, knows about innovation from a slightly different point of view. Please be friendly and welcome Mr. Justin Weesey, everybody, right here. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Now, help me clarify here. I have a tendency to sometimes skip over your organization's name. You're a pastor there. Tell me a little bit about the background.
Yeah. The reason I'm invited here is I'm the assistant pastor at St. John's here in town, as well as the campus pastor with Nebraska Lutheran Campus Ministry.
Okay.
We have 11 locations around the state of different colleges, and so I'm happen to be the campus pastor for the Norfolk location.
And the campus pastor, what does this all involve, that particular youth organization, and essentially what is it?
Yeah, our mission statement, it's part of the Nebraska Synod. We're a serving arm of the Nebraska Synod of the Evangelical Lutheran Church in America.
With a special focus on
with our mission statement being inviting people, so whether you're staff or a student in an academic setting, so inviting people in academic settings more deeply into Jesus Christ and the community which bears his name.
Yes.
So they may discover and fulfill their vocation as disciples. Longest mission statement in the world, as I was telling you on the phone. But to take one of those words out, I think fails to make it be what we do.
We wouldn't want to compromise it at this particular point.
Yeah,
no,
because we want people that are in academic settings to be able to think about how will I serve Christ in the world with my occupation, which should also be your vocation.
Sure. Now, innovation, there are some very interesting innovative angles or dimensions of what you do that I think we talked before about looking at one business or industry or market sector and seeing what's working over there, and then you kind of examine it and you pull over and you put it in your business, and it may be very effective. So we're talking a little bit about your world and how you're innovating. Why don't you share with us this biblical, this scripture phrase that inspired me, and I think it might be the single most profound concept here at this entire event. Sure.
Came to me this morning, as I said, while in the shower. So,
by the way, we're going to talk about that too.
That's right. I was maybe remembering my baptism. I don't know. But the Mark 2, and it's in Luke's and Matthew's gospel as well, but Jesus is being confronted by those who followed John the Baptist or the Pharisees. And how come your disciples don't fast? And Jesus responds from some different things, but then he says, I think it's Mark 2, 21, 22, you don't put new wine into old wineskins because you'll ruin the old wineskin, it'll burst, you'll lose the new wine, and both will be destroyed. So when Jesus is talking about how he's different than these other people who are fasting, when him and his disciples are eating all the time, it seems like in the Gospels, having a good time. So he's trying to tell them that this is a new thing. This ministry that he's doing is
a new thing.
Jesus, but it's a new
he was
thing
innovating, right?
He was being innovative.
He was saying, we're going to throw away the fasting concept, right? And you don't want to put, let's come back to this now, new wine. I think we're talking about new wine here all night long. Aren't we, ladies and gentlemen, huh? What do you think? We're talking about new wine, right? I love this metaphor. It may have been literal then, but it's metaphorical here, right? Sure. And putting it in old wineskins because it's not capable, it doesn't have the capacity or the strength to handle the new wine. Is that right?
Yeah, or like you said, container. Yeah, if we're trying to take new ideas but apply them to old business strategies, it's not. And you're wondering, why is it not working? Well, it's probably because it's not the right container, as you were saying.
Not the right
earlier.
Container, yeah.
Or strategy or approach or whatever.
Yeah. I don't want to stop you dead center here, because you've got a lot of cool things to share. But I have to tell you, I've led a few innovation training sessions in my life. And using metaphors, in this case a wineskin, right, holding wine, that's a metaphor that can be, say, it's a container, So you challenge your management team, say, what's the container? I need a metaphor for what we're trying to do here. Somebody says, well, we're trying to pour new wine into old wineskins. Ah, very interesting. What's the container or the wineskin? What's our container? Is it the building here? Is that the container? Is it some mental concept of what the company is, right? And it's limited and weak and not capable of expanding? A whole new thoughts, the new ideas, the new wine, right? Could be, right? Sure. Right. A lot of different interesting metaphors with the container piece. So thank you for sharing that. I could go on all day. Sure. But you know, I know you're great with outreach. You go out and fundraise, right?
A lot of fundraising.
A lot of fundraising.
Yeah.
Well, I can see you'd be an effective salesperson. Tell us about alliances. I know you have the ability to form partnerships of one sort or another. Tell us a little bit about what you've learned there, because they can open the door to innovation as well.
Yeah, well, with fundraising, the easiest thing to do, I think, in campus ministry is to go and knock on the same door all the time. And so a lot of other campus ministry sites will go and ask the church women to give again, you know, or other people to give again. But having being in between some pastor jobs there for a while, and if you hear me on Saturday mornings on Light Rock 97.5, I'm that voice of that crazy birthday guy. And the whole show. But
good.
But
I like this.
Having kind of been in there and kind of realizing some of those strategies there, it's like, well, why not ask businesses in town that have money for donations for ministry? And we have opportunities, I think, as we can, doing ministry with college students. We also have college students that can connect with a variety of businesses that are in town. And you know, when we have our fall fundraiser, it's called Folks and Forks. We'll hope to see you Sunday, September 21st over at St. John's, 3 o'clock. One of the things we to do
You're
is,
faster than me.
I try.
You are slicker than me.
I think that's why you had me.
You snuck that in.
I did.
That was beautiful.
But we had silent auction items with businesses that I go ask people that I do business with, and tell them about what I'm doing, and they're like, "Well, that's great. We can do this or this for the silent auction."
What's the single best way to form a joint venture or partnership or promotion? Get people to collaborate with you. Give me one little secret, right? That you've pulled together.
Be authentic. Be yourself, and also be in relationship and develop those relationships. You know how many times people tell me no because I've never seen me before? Happens a lot. If I've seen somebody time and time again, they see me in their business, they're like, well, yeah, that
gets a little easier, right?
It does make it
because they know about you. Of course, being a minister does enhance the credibility a little bit. Right?
Occasionally, you get some power with a collar on.
Well, let's go back to the shower. All right, let's go back to the shower.
Alone or separate?
No.
Okay.
You know, we're talking about people. I talk to people and they go, well, you know, I don't come up with any good ideas. You know, I don't really have any good ideas that I can do for my company. I don't know. I don't know what to do. We just keep on doing what we do. And the fact of the matter is that when you do things like take a shower or take a long drive, it activates a certain part of the brain that then somehow creates new associations, right?
Sure.
This is a gray backdrop, and I was feeling gray, and it was gray outside, so why don't we do this? And it's kind of gray. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Things come together in unusual ways.
Sure, yeah. I think you know, some of the spiritual practices that we talk about with college students really might come across as New Age or from East Asia, like meditative things, but those are part of the Christian tradition that have been around just as long.
Way before.
Yeah, or you know, very well way before. But when it gets pushed to the side, and you don't think about sometimes things that were old are suddenly new again, and they work in ways that allow people to think out. Yeah, you get out of your routine. You have that creativity, listen to the voice of God, listen to ideas that God might be sending your way, and sometimes things just kind of open up, as we were talking about earlier too.
Absolutely, and that's where the wine inspiration about the wines that came from that particular moment. As we wrap up here, you know, a lot of managers visit amongst themselves or with their families. They don't feel like their career is fulfilling enough for them anymore. They really struggle with getting up and doing the same routine, and they don't feel that their boss cares. And they're not doing anything meaningful that has any lasting value. I hear this a lot. I used to hear it a lot amongst people in their 50s and 60s. Now I hear it amongst people in their 20s. Now, if some of those people were sitting in front of you right now, what one piece of advice would you have for them? Can you share anything that comes to mind, other than pray more often and show up at my church service?
That's right. A consumeristic society might lead you to be consumed yourself.
Yes.
And so rather than consuming, you know, Jesus says when you give your life away, that's when you'll find what your life is all about.
Yeah.
And so by perhaps doing things in business that seem out of the box, and man, we're giving away things that we should be charging for. In giving those things away, perhaps you'll find a base that you didn't even know.
There you go. Or serving a cause of some sort.
Sure.
Maybe helping Habitat for Humanity on Saturday mornings, or that kind of stuff.
Well, yeah,
but that adds some significance.
And also, I would talk about is not adding like faith and your understanding of who you are is not like one component amongst many things, but rather that's your base, and from that base, then you're able to do those different callings in life that we have as in relationships and occupations, vocations, those types of things.
All right, Justin Lucy, thank you so much. You shared a lot in a very short period of time. Every time I take a shower and think of a good idea, I'm going to think about you, Justin Lucy, right here. Take care.
Thank you.
All right. Now listen, we're not going to do a mixer right now because I have a very special guest coming up here as we wrap this thing up. And then that's not really a wrap-up. Our guys back here are changing their microphone system, so I'm going to chat with you very briefly and tell you so much about this next guy. He's very exciting to have him be a part of this program. He was actually the first person, if I recall, that Donna Herrick picked up the phone and said, okay, let's talk about the September event. I think I'm going to call this guy. All right? And I'm talking now about Dirk Peterson. Many of you know Dirk Peterson here with Nucor. He's made a huge contribution, and this corporation has, of course, a lot of grassroots events here in this region. You all know this better than I do. I wouldn't pretend to know the scope of things that he's done and so on. But I want to talk about innovation as he's recently realized it, and it underscores a couple of points we've made tonight, and then we'll invite him up, and maybe we want to give him an extra special ovation because this company is a platinum sponsor, and he has a lot to share with us this evening. But, he took his wife, and they left Norfolk, and they went to New York. I don't know if you know this. And they went to, first of all, if you know Carole King, a great songstress who's still alive from the 60s, they went and saw her theatrical or Broadway beautiful production about her. And that had to be incredibly entertaining. But also, and very interestingly, they went and saw the 9/11 museum, 9/11 museum. Very touching, no matter who you talk to, it's not something you forget ever. But the thing about this is that Dirk Peterson does have a strong feeling about innovation with Nucor. He's very qualified to talk tonight. And the beauty of it is that when you get away from your daily routine, you get away from all the props that are in the theater that is your life, the stage that is your life, and you walk onto a new stage, you begin to see new thoughts, right? You see new things, new impressions come into your mental apparatus. And I guarantee, I'm going to show you, this is going to look so silly, but this area from right here to right here, you might know this is called your frontal lobe. Your frontal lobe, no kidding. It's a key part of your brain, and this is where all new impressions come together, converge, and give birth to new ideas. And that's what's the beginning. That's the genesis of this meeting right here, is innovation, all right? It happens right here in the frontal lobe. And when you get a bunch of people that are thinking along the right lines, we all come together. It's some collective frontal lobe. I know that sounds crazy, but I have to tell you, I know that's happening, whether you realize it or not right now. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, I want you to give a special round of applause for Mr. Dirk Peterson, my next guest, ladies and gentlemen, with Nucor right here. Stand up! Right here!
Thank you, Glenn. Can you hear me? Yeah.
Thank you for coming. Thank you.
This is not fair to follow the pastor, really.
Oh, no, well, everybody has insights. And if we stood here long enough, I think everything would be connected, but we won't stay here that long. But tell me a little bit about Nucor. I know there's some expansion going on in the near horizon, that you've been behind this, you've been planning this with this other company, and that you've brought them in and so on. Talk to me a little bit about the next immediate stage of Nucor that we're going to be seeing. Let's talk about that for a minute, okay?
Well, right now we're in the process of expanding our operation with our melt shop. We're spending about $75 million in expansion we're doing. We'll increase our volume capacity by about 25%.
Wow.
I'm challenging Brett Jackson, he's our melt shop manager here. He's here tonight. I think we can do better than that.
I got to interrupt you. Where are those Nucor guys?
There's three of them right there.
Why don't you all stand up, all three of you right now. We're not going any further. Let's stand up, guys. There's the managers. There's the managers from Nucor.
And Marty back there.
All right.
He's in our maintenance department, and he makes it happen. That without Marty, the things he does, we couldn't do anything.
Everything
So,
works together. I know that's part
betcha.
of the enterprise teamwork thing. But keep on going about the
Yeah,
expansion.
and with that expansion, we'll be able to support this new company coming into Norfolk called Chaos Tubular. And they're going to produce seamless pipe, which is going to be delivered mainly into the Balkan up in North Dakota, where it's oil and gas fracking up there.
Yes.
And the idea was to be closer to that market than the current suppliers are. All the current suppliers are typically in Texas. And
So it made logistical sense for them to be
yeah,
here.
logistical sense, and plus they essentially, by being next to us, they basically have their own steel mill at their disposal.
It's almost like they're vertically integrated.
Yes, exactly. Yes, and we get the pleasure of supplying them a whole bunch of billets every year. So
You know, what I love about this is that somebody, I'm assuming you and your team, said, what's the ecosystem here? We got this guy down here, he's a customer of ours, and his customers in North Dakota, right?
Right.
Why don't we just all pull them together? It's kind of a big picture, and you're connecting the dots here, making everybody's life a little bit easier.
exactly, yeah, we saw the opportunity. Max Tejeda is the owner of the company, and he said he wanted to go to Rapid City, South Dakota. And we were talking and saying, hey, why not come to Nebraska? Because Nebraska has the greatest people, number one. We've got the greatest people at our mill, greatest people in the community. And I'm a Nebraskan, so thank you for that. And also, just having our facility, being able to take care of them, and the experience we have, we already supply into the same market to. You heard the name U.S. Steel today. We actually supply to U.S. Steel.
Aren't they a competitor of yours? Are you providing
Yes.
a competitor?
Yes, we are.
Very
But
kind of innovative.
we wanted to make, a lot of people ask me, why didn't we just build the pipe mill ourselves instead of having somebody else do it and supply to it? Well, the idea was we get a supply to Tejas, but we also get a supply to U.S. Steel. We also get a supply to a German company called Bentler. And we get a supply to all these different companies. If we would have done it ourselves, then we've been competitors, and maybe they wouldn't have wanted to supply to them. So we're better off,
But best
doing
of
what
both
we
worlds,
do
right?
really, really good, and taking care of all these customers versus, just thinking of that going in our direction ourselves.
Congratulations! Great strategy. Great strategy. How many pitches did that take? How many dinners and pitches and management meetings? I'm just curious.
Well, I had to bring in some really smart, and I'll say this, I only mean this in a good way, good-looking leaders in this community like Sue Fuchman and Courtney Dentlinger and others. They
stepped up and helped.
The whole bottom line is this community helped sell this idea. We had a meeting, and Sue was there, and others were there, where we brought together not only the leaders here in the community of Norfolk, but we brought in economic development from the state of Nebraska. We had the lieutenant governor there. We had representatives from the senators, the congressmen, and the Chamber of Commerce, and all these came together. And we had a little breakout Northeast Community College. Dr. Chips, there it is. Eric Johnson was there to talk about all the things we have
And
here.
workforce development, I'm sure, we're contributing to all
that was probably just as important as Nucor having the material for them. That this community and this state showed him this is a business-friendly state, but even more importantly, that we're here together to work as a team, and we care about our local businesses. Right. They demonstrate that every day in caring about Nucor and our people by, building the industrial highway out
Absolutely.
there, because we had a real bad situation on safety without having that road. And them building that road, and the community came together to get that done. And of course, they'll benefit, the community will benefit as well as Nucor and other businesses in the area. But we demonstrated that by having all those people in the room together, and he could just feel it. And he was sold probably more there after that than any other aspect.
That was it. That was the
deal.
singular gesture.
That was a selling point, and the relationships. And then after that, Sue and Courtney. And some of us, we went down and visited them in Houston, visited their facilities, and
Nice
I think we had
follow-up.
some margaritas one night. That
No,
really
that
helped.
couldn't happen.
Yeah, sorry, Pastor, but you know, we did that too.
Excellent. Hey, you know, you talked a little bit about roads, so let's wrap up here and tell about the effort you put also into infrastructure with
Okay,
roads. Does that have anything to do with this, or not directly?
Well, it does. We're working right now, and this is maybe a little bit of a commercial, but trying to put everybody together along the whole corridor coming from Scribner over to Norfolk to get this 4-lane road done. And I think we've made it a campaign issue in the gubernatorial race here, because we talked to Pete Ricketts, and Chuck Hazebrook just found out about it. I talked to him on the phone yesterday. So I think they're both really interested, because I think Northeast Nebraska is going to be really key to this election. It's going to be a close election, I believe. And so I feel here's an opportunity. We got the natural gas pipeline coming over from Bancroft, and nobody ever thought that could get done. Okay. So, and I think they're talking about the 4-lane road probably won't even be done in my lifetime. But I don't believe, and I don't believe in failure. Failure is never an option. And I think we can get this done by working together as a community, come to the table together.
Specifically, what do we have to do? What's one thing the community could do to help you move this
Coming
particular
together
project?
as a group and saying this is what we need, and putting the feet to the fire of these two candidates and saying, hey, this is what we need, and we expect this to happen. And if it doesn't happen, you're not going to get reelected next time.
So funding and support from Lincoln and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
We'll just put it on the line.
I like that assumptive attitude. Do you like the attitude? How about it for Dirk Peterson, ladies and gentlemen? There we go.
Appreciate it.
My pleasure. Dirk Peterson. All right. All right.
Norfolk, your people made the difference. Norfolk, you said your heart inside. Norfolk, your people made the difference. Norfolk, it's a journey